term Third World arose during the Cold War to define countries that remained non-aligned with either NATO or the Communist bloc. The United States, Western European nations, and their allies represented the First World, while the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, and their allies represented the Second World. This terminology provided a way of broadly categorizing the nations of the Earth into three groups based on social, political, cultural and economic divisions. The Third World was normally seen to include many countries with colonial pasts in Africa, Latin America, Oceania and Asia. It was also sometimes taken as synonymous with countries in the non-aligned movement. In the dependency theory of thinkers like Raoul Prebisch, Walter Rodney, Theotonio dos Santos, and Andre Gunder Frank, the Third World has also been connected to the World Economic Division as periphery countries in the world system that is dominated by the core countries. Due to the complex history of evolving meanings and contexts, there is no clear or agreed upon definition of the Third World. Some countries in the Communist bloc, such as Cuba, were often regarded as Third World. Because many Third World countries were extremely poor and non-industrialized, it became a stereotype to refer to poor countries as Third World countries, yet the Third World term is also often taken to include newly industrialized countries like Brazil, India and China. See also, BRIC. Historically, some European countries were part of the non-aligned movement and a few were and are very prosperous, including Ireland, Austria, Sweden, Finland, and Switzerland. Over the last few decades since the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, the term Third World has been used interchangeably with the least developed countries, the Global South, and developing countries to describe poorer countries that have struggled to attain steady economic development, a term that often includes Second World countries like Laos. This usage, however, has become less preferred in recent years.
Particular stage that it is at in its development. Nonetheless, countries are ranked higher in terms of the comforts and opportunities afforded to its citizens. We now call this the Human Development Index. Back in the day, we would judge a country by its stage of industrialization, and the first developed country in this sense was the UK. Belgium followed, then Germany, then the USA, and then France and other Western European nations. If we look at today's Human Development Index, the top 10 countries in order are Norway, Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Denmark, Singapore, the Netherlands, Ireland, Iceland, Canada, and 10th, believe it or not, is the USA. The UK, which was once in first place, now stands in 16th place. Today we'll look at why. In this episode of the Infographic Show, third world versus first world countries, what's the difference? Well, many people think we should stop using these terms of first and third world. The terms are seen as insulting and vague, and while some nations might not be economic powerhouses, what's to say that citizens don't live a happy and safe life even without a Big Mac and fries? If we go back some years to 1952, a French demographer, Alfred Sauvy, wrote about 3 worlds, 1 planet. It is he who is said to have first coined the term. By first world, he meant the USA, Japan, South Korea, and Western Europe. By second world, he meant the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, and communist allies. At the bottom, in the third world, he meant all the rest, societies that were mostly agrarian and poor. One of the reasons the term is decried is because it was so vague. There wasn't really much analysis, and so in spite of northern Brits living in industrial slums and working in inhumane conditions, as George Orwell wrote in The Road to Wigan Pier, because of Britain's relative wealth, it was deemed first world. In fact, these days, a professor at Harvard Medical School has used the term fourth world, which includes the USA. This means a country of great wealth where some parts of society live on the fringes, jobless, often drug addicted, with no health care, and not so many opportunities to change things around. They are living in a first world with third world standards. So, this is a rather confusing question we have posed. Do we use the term developing? We can look at what has happened over many parts of Asia in the last 20 years. While parts of China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand still have pervasive abject poverty, there is a lot more money. It isn't exactly getting to everyone though, and one might ask if farming rice in China was any worse than making iPhone components for hours on end in a factory in a polluted city. But with this new money, infrastructure has improved, and so too has healthcare and education. We could say these countries are verily developing, but why is Norway the most developed? Is it still not developing? Does developed mean stasis? Not really. All countries are still developing, but others could be said to be going through major changes. The US Department of State explains why Norway is so developed. Per capita, GDP is among the highest in the world, we are told, due to thriving industries in this nation of just 5.2 million people. Just take into account that Delhi has 18.6 million people. You only need to walk around Delhi to see poverty all around you. You don't have to go looking for it. India is developing due to its fairly amazing economic growth, but still it was reported in 2014 that 58% of the Indian population were living on less than $3.10 per day. India puts the poverty line at $1.90 a day. This may be enough not to starve to death, but we can imagine that those people living on that amount don't have the freedom and opportunities that Norway's less well-to-do people have. In fact, in Norway, the average income is more than $35,000 a year. Only 3% of the population work very long hours, and all Norwegians, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, can expect good environment quality, jobs and earnings, income and wealth, education and skills, housing, work-life balance, civic engagement, social connections, and health status. The same definitely cannot be said of any developing nation. Nonetheless, anyone in India will tell you about great transformations, more job opportunities, and easing of poverty, and how far the country has come in terms of developing technology. Norway is top of the Human Development Index, so we could say this is the first of the first world countries, even though we don't use that term anymore. The top 51 nations fall in the high human development bracket. Out of 188 countries, India comes in at 131st. Indeed, India's super rich wealth and massive growth has yet to trickle down to many of the masses. The HDI has 3 main categories: environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and social sustainability. Right at the bottom of the HDI is the Central African Republic. Again, while we don't use the term third world anymore, you could say that this might be the bottom of the list insofar as we have a term for not being developed. Why is that? For starters, life expectancy there is only 52 or thereabouts. It is tied with Angola and only better than one country, which is Sierra Leone. People there can expect to live to 50.1. By comparison, Norwegians on average can expect to live about 30 years longer. In India, the life expectancy is 68, somewhere in the middle. The 4.6 million people living in the Central African Republic have faced extreme poverty, war, ethnic and religious cleansing, and political violence. It's said to be the worst place in the world to be young, and even if you get a job, the average wage per year is said to be $400, although this might need updating. Half of the population is illiterate, and if you go to school, you might not do more than 4 or 5 years. It has one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world, and about a quarter of the women have undergone genital mutilation. If that isn't bad enough, human rights hardly exist. Complain, and you might find yourself being arrested summarily and sent to a terrible jail. Corruption is rife, and there is not much anyone can do. The country has a history of labor rights violations as well as child labor. Children and women regularly face violence after being accused of being witches. One travel blogger talked of his experience in the capital of Bangui, saying it was a mess that is always teetering on the edge of violence. We are of course mentioning the very worst things, and no doubt a lot of people live a happy life there. We just want to outline a kind of first, second, and third comparison. That's why we picked these 3 nations. We could also look at the country of Botswana, which comes in 108th place. This is quite low, but if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, you'll know it's home to possibly some of the happiest, laid-back, self-sufficient people in the world. Or was, until recent times. According to Gladwell, they have a 2-hour workday on average and play around the rest of the time. They don't need iPhones or dinner sets made by Hermes. They are the last hunter-gatherer tribe called the Kung Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. These wanderers also move through Angola, which is placed 150th on the HDI. Unfortunately, what they hunt and gather is being destroyed by development. Anthropologists say they get over conflicts in peaceful ways and generally are a happy lot. They provide for their kids with devotion and remain mostly monogamous. Wealth is shared with everyone. In more recent years, that has changed as some were forced to settle in one place, and that's when the problems arose. As soon as they got doors, they started shutting them and sharing less. They are also very much third world by Western.
Hopefully by now we're all savvy enough to stop saying third world countries, but saying developing nations sounds condescending too. We usually end up calling them those nations, which might be even worse. Which nations? Those nations. Over there. Don't touch them. So what should we call those nations? First off, the term third world is really wrong. It comes from the 1950s, and at the time, the first world meant countries aligned with the West and the United States. The second world was nations aligned with communist Russia. This only sort of made sense then, and makes absolutely no sense now. As for the third world, that referred to everything else. It includes those nations we mean when we say third world. But it also included places like Greenland and the United Arab Emirates. It was too general, and as such, not super useful. So what about the term developing nations? India, China, and Brazil are actively developing and sort of fit into that category, but people tend to call those newly industrialized countries. or they just call them India, China, and Brazil. Developing nations also include places like Syria and Somalia, but they aren't developing at all. In fact, they're spiraling. So the word developing in developing nations doesn't actually mean anything. You could say poor nations, but not if you go off their GDP. Currently, Iraq is 56th on the UN's list, and Iceland is 123rd. When you're talking about poverty, you don't usually mean Iceland. So for the last time, what should you say? Well, it's awkward and long, but you should say countries on the UN's list of least developed nations, which is a mouthful, but it's accurate. These 48 countries on the official and somewhat regularly updated list are those nations. Granted, it doesn't include all the nations people mean when they throw around those other terms, but when you're talking about world poverty, this is the place to start.
Negara-negara di dunia digolongkan menjadi 3 kategori berdasarkan tingkat kemakmurannya, yaitu negara terbelakang, negara berkembang, dan negara maju. Indonesia berada pada kategori negara berkembang. Namun baru-baru ini pemerintah Amerika Serikat mencoret Indonesia dari daftar negara berkembang. Hal itu membuat Indonesia masuk dalam daftar negara maju di Organisasi Perdagangan Dunia. Jika dilihat sekilas, kenaikan status Indonesia dari negara berkembang menjadi negara maju merupakan kabar yang cukup baik, bukan? Ekonom Senior Institute for Development of Economic and Finance, Afiliani mengatakan, terdapat perbedaan definisi negara maju antara USTR dengan Bank Dunia. Apabila mengacu kepada definisi negara maju versi USTR, Indonesia memang sudah bisa mendapatkan gelar negara maju. Salah satunya adalah kontribusi ekspor Indonesia terhadap global sudah di atas 0,5%, yaitu di angka 0,9%. Selain itu, Indonesia juga tergabung dalam organisasi internasional seperti G20. Terakhir, Indonesia dinilai memiliki rata-rata pertumbuhan ekonomi tinggi, yakni di kisaran 5%. Namun, angka pertumbuhan tersebut masih relatif rendah untuk negara sebesar Indonesia. Kemudian apabila mengacu kepada klasifikasi Bank Dunia, kriteria pertama negara maju ialah pendapatan nasional bruto yang di atas $12.000 Amerika per kapita, sedangkan per kapita nasional hanya sebesar $3.840 Amerika. Bank Dunia masih mengkategorikannya sebagai negara berpendapatan menengah ke bawah. Ciri-ciri negara maju. Selain pendapatan per kapita yang tinggi, adalah tingkat ekspor lebih tinggi dari impor, terjaminnya kesehatan, kecilnya angka pengangguran, keamanan terjamin, dan majunya ilmu teknologi dan pengetahuan di negara itu. Contoh negara maju yang paling dekat dengan Indonesia adalah Jepang dan Korea Selatan. Namun, sudah layakkah Indonesia menyandang status negara maju? Ada beberapa faktor yang menunjukkan bahwa Indonesia belum bisa menyandang predikat tersebut. Pertama, kualitas pertumbuhan ekonomi nasional masih sangat lemah, sehingga bukan tidak mungkin kalau sewaktu-waktu Indonesia bisa mengalami kemunduran ekonomi. Kedua, pendapatan per kapita Indonesia masih jauh dari angka standar internasional negara maju. Dan yang ketiga, dari segi kualitas kesejahteraan masyarakat Indonesia, dalam konteks kesehatan, pendapatan, dan sumber daya manusia, umumnya masih di bawah rata-rata internasional. Bila Indonesia belum layak dikatakan sebagai negara maju, mengapa Amerika Serikat mencoret Indonesia dari daftar negara berkembang dan menaikkan kelas menjadi negara maju? Apa dampak dari perubahan status ini untuk Indonesia? Perubahan status ini bisa berpotensi memukul neraca perdagangan Indonesia. Indonesia berpotensi kehilangan sejumlah fasilitas perdagangan internasional yang selama ini diberikan hanya kepada negara-negara berkembang. Dalam perdagangan dengan Amerika Serikat misalnya, batas maksimal pembebasan bea masuk turun dari 2% menjadi hanya 1%. Bila importasi produk Indonesia di Amerika Serikat harus memakai tarif normal atau Most Favored Nation, maka industri Indonesia bakal kehilangan daya saing. Peneliti Center of Reform on Economics, Yusuf Randy Manilet, menilai penetapan status Indonesia sebagai negara maju oleh Amerika Serikat memang sama sekali tidak terkait dengan pencapaian perkembangan ekonomi Indonesia saat ini. Beliau memprediksi hal ini mengarah pada pengecilan defisit Amerika Serikat. Apalagi kalau dilihat Trump akan maju pemilu. Ini bisa jadi langkah menggait elektabilitasnya dan sebuah strategi dari Amerika untuk mengurangi defisit perdagangan terhadap Indonesia.
Saudara, tadi sudah ada headline yang kita berikan bahwa Amerika ini mendepak Indonesia dari daftar negara berkembang masuk menjadi negara maju. Pertanyaannya, nah ini tuh sebenarnya minggu lalu kita tahu bahwa Presiden Jokowi ini sempat bilang bahwa Indonesia mau jadi negara maju di 2045. Tapi ternyata sepekan sebelum Presiden Jokowi menceritakan mimpinya Indonesia mau jadi negara maju, Amerika Serikat, tepatnya Kamar Dagang Amerika Serikat ini sudah mengeluarkan rilis. Ada beberapa negara yang dikeluarkan dari negara berkembang masuk ke dalam daftar negara maju versi Amerika Serikat. Kami garis bawahi, versi Amerika Serikat. Pertanyaannya nih, untung atau buntung sih untuk Indonesia kalau sekarang dijadikan negara maju? Nah, kita lihat. Jadi sebenarnya untuk porsi negara maju, selama ini negara-negara ini mendasarkan pada tulisan atau perhitungan dari World Bank. Ada perhitungannya, mereka membagi menjadi 3 bagian, yaitu negara maju atau negara dengan high income, lalu juga negara menengah ke atas, dan negara menengah ke bawah. Ini ada hitungannya, yaitu memakai Gross National Income. Gross National Income ini dihitung lebih luas lagi daripada perhitungan GDP yang biasanya dipakai. Jadi tidak hanya income, lalu juga investasi, konsumsi, ekspor, impor, kalau itu kan untuk perhitungan GDP ya. Nah, JNI ini menambah dari perhitungan nilai semua barang dan jasa yang dihasilkan penduduk dalam negeri, juga untuk barang dan jasa yang terjadi di luar negeri. Tapi dikurangin dari pendapatan warga negara asing yang ada di Indonesia. Dapatlah GNI. World Bank menghitung kalau negara maju WNI-nya biasanya di atas GNI-nya ini di atas 12.375 dolar Amerika Serikat, negara menengah ke atas antara 4 ribuan dolar sampai 12.375. Nah, ini adalah 5 negara yang didepak dari negara berkembang menjadi negara maju ala Amerika Serikat. Jadi Indonesia nggak sendiri. Ada Malaysia, ada Thailand, Brazil, dan juga India. Kalau Anda lihat angka di bawah ini nih yang warna kuning, ini adalah GNI dari masing-masing negara. Nggak ada yang masuk hitungan 12.375 dari versi World Bank. Semuanya di bawah. Mendekati paling Malaysia lah ya, itu pun masih 10 ribuan. Apalagi Indonesia, saudara. Selamat tinggal, masih 3.800, jauh sekali dari hitungan World Bank yang ada di angka 12.375. Tapi ini Amerika, Bung. Terserah dia ya. Udah negara dengan ekonomi terbesar, negara maju. Akhirnya mereka ngitung sendiri, punya hitungan untuk negara-negara ini dianggap menjadi 0,5% yang menguasai perdagangan dunia. Jadi menurut Amerika Serikat, negara-negara ini tuh udah nggak perlu diberikan subsidi dan udah nggak perlu masuk ke dalam perhitungan negara berkembang. Apalagi untuk India, Brazil, dan juga Indonesia masuk dalam kategori G20, negara-negara besar, 20 negara terbesar di dunia dalam perhitungan perdagangan. Dihitunglah sama Amerika Serikat, akhirnya dikurangi nih, dibuang menjadi negara maju. Nah, apa dampaknya? Jadi kalau dari World Trade Organization, yaitu organisasi yang mengatur perdagangan dunia, negara maju ini sebenarnya berhak memberikan subsidi untuk negara-negara berkembang. Nah, untuk apa? Untuk bisa negara berkembang ini keluar dari jerat kemiskinan, lalu juga perdagangannya semakin baik. Nah, ini adalah salah satunya, yaitu GSP, hadiah yang diberikan oleh Amerika Serikat ke Indonesia untuk subsidi ekspor impornya. Indonesia sendiri adalah negara, atau Amerika Serikat ini adalah negara eksportir, negara tujuan ekspor Indonesia nomor 2. Begitupun dengan sebaliknya, Indonesia adalah negara importir nomor 2 di Amerika Serikat. Jadi sebenarnya ini besar sekali perdagangan kita dan juga Amerika Serikat. Nah, GSP ini atau keringanan bea masuk impor adalah hadiah dari Amerika Serikat untuk Indonesia. Ada sekitar 3.572 pos tarif bea masuknya jadi 0%, saudara. 0%. Ini artinya barang-barang dari Indonesia yang masuk ke Amerika Serikat harganya jadi kompetitif karena nggak mahal, karena bea masuknya 0%. Begitu juga kalau melihat dari angkanya, setiap tahun ini selalu naik hadiah subsidi yang diberikan oleh Amerika Serikat ke Indonesia. 2017 sampai 2019 ada di angka 2,5 miliar dolar Amerika Serikat. Barangnya banyak, ada madu, lalu juga ada bawang bombay kering, rotan, dan sekarang sebenarnya pemerintah tuh lagi ngebahas mau nambah barang lagi untuk masuk ke dalam list GSP, yaitu hortikultura dan juga reasuransi. Tapi pertanyaannya dengan adanya list di mana kita masuk ke negara maju, gimana nih nasib dari GSP kita, gimana nasib dari barang-barang kita yang masuk ke dalam Amerika Serikat kalau bea masuknya ditambah dan tidak dieliminasi jadi 0%. Karena sebenarnya Amerika Serikat ini lagi cari cara, gimana sih cara ngimbangin subsidi yang diberikan kepada negara-negara lain melalui bea masuk. Bicara perdagangan Amerika Serikat dan Indonesia nih, Anda lihat ya, kita tuh untung banget dengan Amerika karena kita selalu surplus, selalu, saudara. Trennya Anda lihat dari 2016 ini ekspornya lebih besar jauh dibandingkan dengan impornya. Trennya sekitar 8 sampai 9 miliar dolar lah. Memang sempat turun kalau Anda lihat datanya dari 2018 ke 2019. Tapi tren surplus itu selalu terjadi selama 4 tahun, bahkan bertahun-tahun ke belakang kita itu selalu surplus. Nah, ini yang dikhawatirkan. Emang kalau kita lihat Amerika ini kan lagi cari cara ya. Misalnya ke Tiongkok, dia kan selalu surplus. Nah, dia mau cari cara nih gimana caranya supaya perdagangan mereka nggak berimbang lah dengan Tiongkok. Begitu juga dengan Indonesia yang salah satu negara yang selalu surplus dan akhirnya kalau dilihat dari kacamata Amerika Serikat mereka selalu defisit dengan kita. Jadi mereka khawatir apalagi dengan kondisi ekonomi seperti sekarang yang ada corona, lalu juga ada efek perang dagang. Padahal perang dagang mereka juga yang bikin ya, tapi mereka juga yang pusing nyari cara gimana caranya supaya ekonomi mereka muter lagi. Ini salah satunya menggeser negara-negara menjadi negara maju. Dan Amerika Serikat itu kalau tercatat di WTO ya selama 24 tahun terakhir adalah negara yang rajin banget ngasih instrumen anti subsidi ke negara-negara lain. Total sudah ada 254 produk kena anti subsidi, Indonesia ada 11 produk. Jadi kalau kayak gini kita udah nggak bisa bilang negara berflower lagi ya Indonesia. Nah, kita lihat nih ke depannya, apakah memang dampaknya besar sekali ketika Indonesia sudah tidak lagi menjadi negara berkembang di mata Amerika Serikat.